There is only one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide. You've thought about it. Maybe not the act itself, the question beneath it, the question that arrives in the silence. Why keep going? What's the point? You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you sleep. Again. Again. The same routine, the same faces, the same conversations. And somewhere in the repetition, the question appears. Why? Why am I doing this? What does any of this mean? You push it away. You distract yourself. You scroll through other people's lives. You make plans for the weekend. You tell yourself it's just a bad day. Just stress. Just tiredness. Tomorrow will be better. But tomorrow arrives. Same.
The question is still there. Louder now, more insistent, and you realize this isn't going away. This isn't a mood. This is the truth trying to break through. Albert Camus said that judging whether life is worth living is the fundamental question of philosophy, not what is justice, not what is truth, not how should we live, but should we live at all? Everything else is secondary, because if you can't answer this question, nothing else matters. And you can't answer it by thinking harder. You can't answer it by reading more books. You can't answer it by finding the right career or the right relationship or the right belief system. Because the question isn't asking for an answer. It's exposing a condition. The condition Camus called the absurd.
The absurd is not a feeling. It's not depression. It's not nihilism. It's not existential angst. The absurd is the confrontation, the collision, the impossible meeting between two truths that cannot be reconciled. The first truth, you want life to make sense. You need meaning, purpose, coherence. You want your suffering to have a reason. You want your actions to matter. You want the story of your life to mean something. This is what it means to be human. We are meaning-seeking creatures. We cannot help it. The second truth, the universe does not care. It offers no meaning, no purpose, no coherence. It is silent, indifferent, vast. You were born without asking. You will die without consent. And in between, there is no script, no grand plan, no cosmic justice, no reason why things happen the way they do. You search for meaning, and the universe offers you nothing. You ask why, and the only answer is silence.
This is the absurd. Not that life is meaningless, but that you desperately need it to mean something, and it refuses. You are caught between the hunger for answers and the silence that greets every question. And this collision, this impossible tension, is the condition you've been living in without naming it. You know this feeling. You've lived it. You work all week for the weekend. The weekend ends. You work again. You save money for a vacation. The vacation ends. You return to work. You achieve a goal. The satisfaction lasts a day. You set a new goal. You meet someone. The excitement fades. You search for excitement again. You fix one problem. Another appears. You climb. The boulder rolls back. You climb again.
You are Sisyphus, condemned by the gods to push a boulder up a mountain. Every time you reach the top, it rolls back down. You descend. You push it up again. Forever. No progress, no escape, no resolution. Just the eternal repetition of a task that accomplishes nothing. You are the person refreshing their phone at 2 in the morning, looking for something that isn't there. You are the climber who summits and descends and climbs again. You are every human who has built something, watched it dissolve, and asked, what was the point? And so the question arrives, why continue? if nothing I do matters in the end, if the boulder always rolls back, if the universe is indifferent to my suffering and my joy, if I am going to die and be forgotten and everything I built will dissolve, why push the boulder at all? Why not just stop?
This is the question of suicide, not the act, the logic. Why keep going when nothing matters? Camus said there are 3 responses to the absurd. 3 ways people try to escape the confrontation. The first is physical suicide, the literal act, ending your life because you cannot bear the meaninglessness. This is the most honest response, Camus said, because at least it acknowledges the problem. At least it faces the absurd directly and says, I cannot live in this condition. But it is also surrender. It is letting the absurd win. It is saying, because life has no meaning, I choose not to live. And in that choice, you validate the absurd's power over you. Don't do that. Please. Because there are other ways through this.
The second response is philosophical suicide. This is more common. This is what most people do. Philosophical suicide is the leap into hope, into faith, into ideology, into any system that promises meaning where there is none. This is believing that God has a plan for you. This is believing that history is progressing toward justice. This is believing that your suffering serves a higher purpose. This is believing that if you just work hard enough, if you just find the right person, if you just achieve the right goal, life will finally make sense. This is the leap of faith. And Camus says, this is a lie. This is turning away from the truth. This is closing your eyes to the absurd and pretending it doesn't exist. You are still Sisyphus. You are still pushing the boulder, but now you tell yourself a story about why the boulder matters. You tell yourself the gods are testing you. You tell yourself the boulder will stay at the top one day. You tell yourself there is meaning in the pushing. And none of it is true. You are lying to yourself to make the absurd bearable. And this is what most people do. They cannot face the silence, so they fill it with noise. They cannot face the meaninglessness, so they invent meaning. They join a religion. They adopt an ideology. They commit to a cause. They build a narrative. They tell themselves, I am here for a reason. My life has purpose. This suffering will be worth it. And for a while, it works. The story comforts them. The belief sustains them. But the absurd is still there, underneath, waiting. And eventually, the story cracks. The belief fails. The narrative collapses. And they are back at the bottom of the mountain, staring at the boulder, asking, why?
I know this is heavy. You came here for philosophy, and I'm telling you the universe is indifferent, and meaning is a story we tell ourselves. This isn't comfortable. But stay, because Camus offers a third way, and it's the only honest one. It's called revolt. Revolt is not hope. It is not faith. It is not the belief that life will get better, or that suffering has meaning, or that the boulder will one day stay at the top. Revolt is the refusal to surrender. It is looking at the absurd, at the silence, at the indifference of the universe, and saying, I will live anyway. Not because it matters, not because there is a reason, but because I choose to. Revolt is pushing the boulder, knowing it will roll back, and pushing it again, not because you believe it will stay, but because the act of pushing is yours.
The boulder is not yours. The gods are not yours. The mountain is not yours, but the push, the effort, the defiance, the refusal to give up. That is yours, and that is enough. This is what Camus means when he says, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. Not because Sisyphus has hope, not because the boulder will eventually stay at the top, but because Sisyphus has accepted the absurd and chosen to live anyway. He has stopped searching for meaning outside himself. He has stopped waiting for the gods to release him. He has stopped telling himself stories about why this matters. He has faced the truth. This is meaningless. And he has said, I will do it anyway. This is revolt. This is freedom. Because when you stop waiting for life to make sense, you stop being a victim of its meaninglessness. When you stop searching for a reason to live, you start living. When you accept that the universe is indifferent, you become free to create your own meaning. Not meaning that comes from outside, not meaning given by God or history or society, but meaning you generate through the act of living. Through your choices, through your presence, through your refusal to surrender. Stop. Feel your breath. You're alive right now, in this moment. The absurd doesn't care. The universe doesn't care. But you're here. This moment is real. The air in your lungs, the weight of your body. The fact that you're listening to this right now, that's not nothing. That's not small. Camus is saying, maybe that's everything. Maybe the moment is enough. Maybe you don't need the universe to justify you. Maybe you just need to be here, fully, without waiting for permission, without needing a reason.
Camus was born in Algeria in 1913. He grew up in poverty. His father died when he was a baby. His mother was deaf and illiterate. He had tuberculosis. He should have died young. Instead, he became a writer, a journalist, a voice of resistance during World War II. He joined the French resistance. He risked his life publishing underground newspapers. He fought against fascism, not because he believed in some grand narrative of historical progress, but because fascism was an affront to human dignity. And human dignity, even in an absurd universe, was worth defending. He wrote novels about men who feel nothing, who kill for no reason, who are condemned not for what they did, but for refusing to pretend. He wrote essays about the absurd, about rebellion, about the tension between our need for meaning and the universe's refusal to provide it. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature at 43. He was at the height of his powers.
And then, in 1960, he died in a car accident. Instant. Arbitrary. Meaningless. He was 46 years old. In his pocket, they found an unused train ticket. He had planned to take the train. At the last minute, he accepted a ride from a friend. The car hit a tree. He died instantly. The absurd killed him. Not as punishment, not as irony, just as fact. Life is arbitrary. Death is arbitrary. There is no meaning in the timing, no lesson in the accident, just the blunt truth. This is how it ends. And you don't get to choose when. And this is the lesson. You don't have time to wait for life to make sense. You don't have time to keep pushing the question away. You don't have time to keep telling yourself that meaning will arrive later, that purpose will reveal itself eventually, that one day everything will click into place and you'll finally understand why you're here.
Camus died at 46. He didn't get to finish the novel he was writing. He didn't get to see his children grow up. He didn't get more time. The absurd doesn't wait, and neither should you. This is not a call to recklessness. This is a call to presence,
to living now, to stopping the endless deferral of your life. You tell yourself, I'll be happy when I get the promotion, when I find the right person, when I have more money, when I retire, when the kids are grown, when things settle down. You are Sisyphus, telling himself the boulder will stay at the top next time. It won't. The promotion arrives and you want the next one. The relationship starts and the excitement fades. The money comes and you want more. The boulder rolls back. It always rolls back. Revolt is living now, fully, without waiting for permission from the universe, without needing a reason. You don't need the job to make sense to do it well. You don't need the relationship to be perfect to love deeply. You don't need life to have cosmic meaning to live with passion. You just need to choose, to be present, to push the boulder not because it matters in some grand eternal sense, but because this moment, right now, this push, this breath, this choice is yours. Camus said, the struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a human heart. Not reaching the top, not accomplishing the goal, not finding the meaning. The struggle, the effort, the act of pushing while knowing the boulder will roll back, that is where the life is. That is where the freedom is. Because you are no longer a slave to the outcome. You are no longer waiting for the universe to justify your existence. You are no longer performing for gods who don't exist. You are just living, pushing, choosing, being. This is why Camus called himself Mediterranean, not a German philosopher like Kierkegaard or Heidegger, obsessed with anxiety and death and the weight of existence, but a man of the sun, the sea, the body, the present moment. He believed in swimming, in soccer, in the warmth of the sun on your skin, in the taste of food, in the presence of friends, in the simple physical joy of being alive. Not because these things have cosmic significance, but because they are real. They are here. They are now. You don't need the universe to care about you, to care about yourself. You don't need life to have inherent meaning, to choose what matters to you. You don't need permission from God or history or society to live fully. You just need to stop waiting. Stop deferring. Stop telling yourself that life will start later, that meaning will arrive eventually, that one day you'll finally be ready. You won't. The boulder will keep rolling, and you can keep waiting for it to stop, or you can start pushing. This is what Camus offers you. Not comfort, not answers, not a system or a solution, just the brutal, liberating truth. Life is absurd. Meaning is not given. Purpose is not inherent. The universe does not care. And you are free. Free to choose. Free to live. Free to push the boulder knowing it will roll back. Free to love knowing you will lose. Free to create knowing it will be forgotten. Free to be present, knowing the present will pass. Free to say yes to life, even though life has no reason to say yes to you. The absurd is not the enemy. The absurd is the condition. And once you accept the condition, once you stop fighting it, once you stop demanding that life makes sense, you become free. Free from the need for hope. Free from the need for faith. Free from the need for a story that justifies your existence. Free to live without guarantees, without safety nets, without cosmic insurance policies. Free to be here, now, fully, even though here and now is all there is.
So Camus leaves you with this. You are Sisyphus. The boulder is your life. It will roll back. It always rolls back. No achievement is permanent. No relationship is guaranteed. No meaning is inherent. You will push, and the boulder will roll, and you will die and be forgotten, and the universe will continue on as if you never existed. This is the truth. This is the absurd. And the only question that matters is, will you push anyway? Will you live anyway? Will you love anyway? Will you create anyway? Will you choose presence over waiting, revolt over hope, life over the endless deferral of life? Will you stop demanding that the universe justify your existence and start justifying it yourself through the act of living?
One must imagine Sisyphus happy, not because he's deluded, not because he has convinced himself the boulder matters, but because he has accepted the absurd and chosen to push anyway. Because the push is his, the choice is his, the life is his, and that is enough. The boulder is waiting, the mountain is waiting, the absurd is waiting, and you are standing at the bottom, asking the question you've been asking for years. Why? And Camus is standing next to you, looking at the mountain, looking at you and saying, there is no why. There never was. There never will be. Now push.